Introduction: the age of warfare in the medieval era. The medieval period, often defined as the time between the fall of the Roman Empire and the beginning of the Renaissance, roughly 500 to 1500 AD, was a time of significant and turbulent military conflict. Early medieval warfare: the fall of Rome and the rise of new powers. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 426 AD, Europe descended into a period of fragmentation. With the collapse of centralized power, the continent was divided into numerous kingdoms and territories. The Germanic tribes, such as the Visigoths, Ostrogoths, and Franks, took over former Roman lands, often through brutal conquest. The most significant of these was the rise of the Frankish Kingdom under Clovis I in the 5th century. Clovis's victory over the Roman governor Syagrius at the Battle of Soissons, 486 AD, solidified his power in Gaul, modern-day France. Clovis later converted to Christianity, making him a key ally of the Roman Catholic Church. In the 8th century, Charlemagne, the king of the Franks, embarked on a series of military campaigns to expand his empire. The Carolingian Empire was established through wars against the Saxons, Lombards, and Muslims in Spain. The Viking Age: raids, invasions, and settlements. One of the most disruptive forces in early medieval warfare was the Viking Age, 8th and 11th centuries. Norsemen from Scandinavia launched raids on the coasts of Britain, France, and other parts of Europe. The Vikings first began raiding in the late 8th century, with the infamous raid on the Lindisfarne Monastery in 793 AD, marking the beginning of the Viking Age. Over the next several decades, Viking raids intensified. In the 9th and 10th centuries, the Vikings began to settle in many of the regions they had previously plundered. The establishment of the Danelaw in England and the founding of the Kingdom of Normandy in France were direct results of Viking incursions. In the 11th century, Viking leader Harald Hardrada attempted to claim the English throne, leading to the Battle of Stamford Bridge in 1066, where he was defeated by King Harold II of England. The rise of feudalism and the role of chivalry. Feudalism, which became the dominant social and political system in medieval Europe, played a critical role in shaping the conduct of warfare. In a feudal society, land was granted by a lord to vassals in exchange for military service. This system of land ownership and service created a hierarchical structure in which knights and soldiers were bound to fight for their lords. The concept of chivalry, a code of conduct for knights, emerged in the 12th century. It emphasized values such as bravery, honor, and respect for women and the weak, though it was often honored more in theory than practice. The Crusades, religious wars for the Holy Land. One of the defining features of medieval warfare was the Crusades, a series of religious wars initiated by the Catholic Church to reclaim Jerusalem and other territories from Muslim control. The First Crusade, 1096-1099, was called by Pope Urban II in response to the appeal from Byzantine Emperor Alexios I Komnenos, who was facing a Turkish invasion of his empire. The First Crusade was marked by brutal and bloody battles, with the capture of Jerusalem in 1099 being one of its most significant achievements. Crusaders massacred the city's Muslim and Jewish inhabitants. Subsequent crusades followed, including the Second Crusade, 1147-1149, the Third Crusade, 1189-1192, and the Fourth Crusade, 1202-1204. The Third Crusade sought to recapture Jerusalem from the Muslim general Saladin. The Crusades also extended beyond the Holy Land, with campaigns against Muslim forces in Spain, the Reconquista, the Baltic region, the Northern Crusades, and even against Christian heretics, the Albigensian Crusade in southern France. The 100 Years' War, England versus France. Perhaps the most famous medieval conflict, the 100 Years' War, a 1337 to 1453, was a series of wars fought between the Kingdom of England and the Kingdom of France. The war was marked by numerous battles, sieges, and shifting alliances, with both sides facing internal struggles. The war began when King Edward III of England claimed the French throne after the death of King Charles IV of France. The early stages of the war saw significant English victories, such as the Battle of Crécy on 1346, and the Battle of Poitiers on 1356, where the English longbowmen proved devastatingly effective against the French knights. In the mid-14th century, the war was temporarily interrupted by the Black Death, a devastating plague that killed millions across Europe. However, hostilities resumed, and the war saw several significant turning points. The rise of Joan of Arc, a peasant girl who claimed to have received divine visions, instructing her to help Charles II of France reclaim his throne, was pivotal in reversing the course of the war. By the time the war ended in 1453, the French had largely regained control of their territories, and the English were left with only Calais. The 100 Years' War had a profound impact on both nations. The Black Death and its impact on medieval warfare. The Black Death, which swept through Europe in the 14th century, had a devastating impact not only on the population, but also on the conduct of warfare. The plague killed an estimated 1/3 of Europe's population, disrupting society and economies. Armies were decimated, and recruitment became increasingly difficult. As a result, many medieval conflicts became less about large-scale battles and more about small, localized skirmishes or sieges. The social upheaval caused by the Black Death also led to changes in military tactics. The late medieval period saw the rise of professional standing armies, which gradually replaced feudal levies. This shift led to the development of new technologies, including gunpowder weapons like cannons and firearms. The fall of the medieval world. By the late 15th century, the medieval world was beginning to collapse under the weight of new military innovations and the changing political landscape. The invention of gunpowder revolutionized warfare, making heavily armored knights and castle walls less effective. The rise of powerful monarchies, especially in France, England, and Spain, led to the decline of feudalism. The Wars of the Roses, 1455-1487 in England, a series of civil wars between the rival houses of Lancaster and York, were among the last major medieval conflicts. The final victory of Henry Tudor at the Battle of Bosworth Field, 1485, led to the establishment of the Tudor dynasty and the end of the feudal era in England. Conclusion: the legacy of medieval warfare. Medieval wars and conflicts were driven by a mix of political, religious, and social factors, and they left a lasting impact on the history of Europe and beyond. If you like it, please like and subscribe to the channel to receive all that is new.